What is your experience with this COVID-19 and this pandemic time of 12 months now?
Well, it feels highly emotional. There's very practical considerations. There's so much reflection of, like an exposure that is possible during these times, and it's overwhelming. But it's if some days I'm able to navigate it very well and really find it quite powerful and even inspiring at times. So in general, I think it's a powerful and productive time for myself.
Really? Does Corona have an effect on your art?
Yes, it does. I mean, and I'm not sure that all artists have, artists are resilient and we're very good at adapting. We're capable of adapting, and our existence is rather fragile. We don't have a lot of safety nets all the time. I definitely feel that this kind of syntactical shifts that we have now is exciting for me. I work in the public sphere all the time, cultural public sphere. So when public shifts, like the notion of what public is shifting so much, this is when I awake and really start to problem solve and be active. But I'm not sure that's the truth for all artists. That's just that I'm focused in that direction, and these kind of issues and kind of shifts are very, very, very interesting to consider. And so I've been able to work a lot. I've been doing a lot of public competitions with great architects and really great situations where we can think tank, like, how is the public now? How do we act as humans in public? How do we define public spaces? Not thinking of it as a temporary situation, but that this is a fundamental shift and for how we are as humans in public together. First, when this all started to happen in April, and I'm in LA, we haven't had any museums open at all the whole time. And so I was watching, and talking to Europe all the time, and realized that Brussels was opening really quickly. So Wheels, the Contemporary Art Center in Brussels called Wheels, which I've had a solo exhibition in a couple of years ago, a large one, was opening really fast. And I thought, well, they're gonna need some help, like figuring this out, like how this social distance. And I had been thinking about it already. And so I offered my, these works that I used at the time of my solar exhibition, they could become functional guiding systems for the lobby of Wheels. So they went from being in the exhibitions room, there's 250 linear meters of these white guiding systems that I produced at that time. But now they came back from Düsseldorf, from my studio in Düsseldorf, and we reutilized them, we reconsidered them, and they're in the lobby of Wheels now. And
the guide rails are perfect for a museum and also national chain. It looks like a special lockdown work,
I know, but it's from 1997, and I was just asked to reconsider it, and we'll activate it with dancers, and one from North Rhine-Westphalia, Alexander Beierstahl, is a choreographer, and she will work with dancers that have a school in Tilburg, and we'll activate this grid, this kind of grid that is representative of these kind of social practices that we have in mind now and how we relate to each other.
Why is culture considered the icing on the cake of society?
Well, I kind of like that image of icing on the cake, but I understand what you're saying, and I think you're right to say that this is something we really noticed here. And I think the hardest thing is that we realize that culture is on the bottom of the list of essentials in the United States, and I guess that's also everywhere. But here, we were nothing. And this was really hard to see and to hear. And then the silence was even harder, a bigger sound, the emptiness of nothing coming from anyone to kind of, and we here in the US, we had like important diversions like, social justice and, diversity. And so all these other kind of conversations were taking hold. And so, the voices were pretty strong from other places. And the cultural community here has really embraced them entirely, which also felt like the right thing to do. I mean, it didn't feel wrong, but somehow we felt like, what about a larger lobby, because it is a political question, actually. And I think we have lost the politicians' ears over the years. And I think it was because of a kind of numbers game, like our addiction as a society to numbers, like how many people visited that museum, that's your value. And it's a number, it's an abstract. And we're just overly using that for everything now. Like you have the public's ear, if you have not ear metaphorically, if you have 1 million hits on your Instagram account every minute. But who are these million hits and what does this meaning? And we're all addicted to it, like just numbers, and they're so abstract. So many people have died. We have no idea, like we don't know what that means. You know, this kind of problem of not being able to develop a rhetoric of talking to politicians and making them understand how valuable we are. That's really missing. You're right. Yeah.
Joseph Beuys told us the adword, the shows, that means a permanent conference. To do a permanent conference with all people who are included. Maybe we should think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. The conversation has to be active and continuous. But we can't just say it's this and then go on vacation. It's active. I mean, democracy is active, and like, we can't be passive at all. And I think, if I would love to point a finger at some cultural workers that have somehow disappeared. But I think it's a question of rhetoric as well. I mean, it's getting increasingly difficult to use language to describe, why it's important. And there's so many voices coming into this, group. It's like very loud. There's so many, we're part of culture too. And, we want this and this and that very difficult time. I think we have a lot of baggage from sort of this question that was coming up so often in the last 30 years, where people felt that this is like the charlatanism in art. Like, that's not really art. This question has been really damaging for us. We haven't been able to get a larger discussion that's, full of information and inspiring ideas. So yeah, I see it as a challenge. And I think we definitely have to just get active now. This is a really important moment.